She was labeled too weak for combat. Then the kill count tracker froze on her name. Lieutenant Sarah Chen stood barely 5 feet tall, her slight frame dwarfed by the towering Croaxian warriors that surrounded the human delegation. The alien, Commander. General Vorthak examined the assembled human forces with obvious disdain, his 4 yellow eyes scanning dismissively over each soldier. These are your finest warriors? Vorthak's translator crackled, converting his guttural roars into crisp English. This small female cannot possibly be combat ready. The Galactic Council had insisted on this joint operation against the Void, Swarm, an extra-dimensional threat that had already consumed 17 star systems. Humanity was the newest member of the Council, barely past their first century of interstellar travel, while the Croaxians had dominated galactic warfare for millennia. Colonel Martinez stepped forward, his jaw tight. Lieutenant Chen is one of our most capable operators, General. Vorthak's mandibles clicked in what passed for laughter among his species. She appears fragile. Our medical scans indicate bone density 60% that of a proper warrior. Perhaps she would be better suited for logistics. Sarah remained silent, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic display showing swarm movements. She had heard variations of this conversation her entire military career. Too small, too weak, too quiet. The whispers followed her through every deployment, every mission briefing, every training exercise. The human will remain in reserve, Vorthak declared. Real warriors require real strength. 3 days later, the joint fleet engaged the swarm at the Meridian Nebula. The battle was a disaster. Croaxian battle cruisers, massive vessels designed for overwhelming firepower, found themselves outmaneuvered by the organic, writhing mass of swarm ships. The enemy moved like a living organism, adapting to every tactical approach the Croaxians attempted. Within hours, half the fleet was destroyed or disabled. General Vorthak's flagship suffered catastrophic damage, leaving the remaining forces scattered and leaderless. The swarm began advancing toward the nebula's edge, where civilian evacuation ships struggled to escape. All units, fall back to defensive positions, came the panicked transmission from the Croaxian second-in-command. We cannot hold this line. That's when Sarah acted. Without waiting for orders, she launched from the human carrier in a modified fighter craft, something the other species had dismissed as primitive. While Croaxian ships were built like flying fortresses, human vessels prioritized speed and maneuverability. Sarah's fighter was smaller than a Croaxian escape pod, but it moved through space like a deadly wasp. The first swarm creature she encountered was the size of a city block, its biomechanical hull pulsing with alien energies. Standard Croaxian tactics involved frontal assault with heavy weapons. Sarah took a different approach. She studied the creature's movement patterns for exactly 14 seconds, then dove beneath its sensory array. Her fighter's plasma cannons, designed for precision rather than raw power, found the creature's neural cluster. 3 precise shots and the massive entity went dark. The kill counter on the fleet's tactical display flickered. Chen, S. 1. Sarah didn't stop to celebrate. She was already analyzing the next target, cataloging weaknesses the larger ships couldn't exploit. The swarm's advantage lay in their collective intelligence, but that same interconnectedness created vulnerabilities for someone small enough and fast enough to strike at critical junctions. Her fighter danced through the battle space, appearing and disappearing like a ghost. Each engagement lasted seconds. Each strike was surgical: neural clusters, power distribution nodes, sensory organs. The swarm creatures began dying faster than their collective consciousness could adapt. Chen, S. 15. The number kept climbing. Other pilots began following her lead, studying her attack patterns, but none could match her precision. Sarah moved through 3-dimensional space like she was born for it, her small frame allowing her to make turns that would crush larger beings. Chen, S. 47. General Vorthak, recovering from his injuries aboard a rescue vessel, watched the tactical display in growing amazement. How is this possible? No single pilot can achieve such efficiency. Colonel Martinez smiled grimly. You focused on her size, General. You missed what mattered. Sarah's fighter streaked toward the swarm's command organism, a massive creature that coordinated the entire fleet. Croaxian intelligence had deemed it unreachable, protected by layers of smaller entities and void mines. But Sarah saw a path, a narrow corridor of space that existed for only seconds as the creature's defensive formations rotated. She pushed her fighter to maximum acceleration, plasma discharge trailing behind her like a comet's tail. The command organism detected her approach too late. Its defensive systems, designed to intercept massive warships, couldn't track something so small moving so fast. Sarah's fighter struck the creature's primary brain cluster at nearly 30% light speed. The resulting explosion lit up the nebula like a new star. Chen S. 1247. The tactical display froze on that number as the surviving swarm creatures, cut off from their collective intelligence, began destroying each other in confusion. Within minutes, the threat was eliminated. In the aftermath, General Vorthak approached Sarah as she disembarked from her fighter. Her helmet came off, revealing sweat-dampened hair and eyes that held depths the alien commander was only beginning to understand. "I misjudged," Vorthak admitted, his translator struggling with concepts of humility, his language rarely expressed. "Your strength is not in your bones." Sarah looked up at the towering alien warrior and spoke her first words to him since the mission began. "Strength isn't about how much you can lift, General. It's about knowing exactly where to apply pressure." As she walked away, the kill counter remained frozen on the display, a digital monument to the day the galaxy learned that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology or their numbers. It was their ability to see possibilities where others saw only limitations. The human who was labeled too weak for combat had just saved 17 billion lives, and she'd done it not despite her size, but because of everything that size represented: precision, speed, and the uniquely human ability to turn perceived weakness into devastating strength.